Alright class, we're going to start this lesson by talking about opposites again. So we've dealt with opposites a little bit already, but for this lesson we're going to really emphasize opposites by talking about what integer plus another integer equals 0. So here I have 3 plus some number equals 0. What is it? So hopefully you figured out that 3 plus a negative 3 equals 0. So let's try it again. Okay, this time let's try it with another positive integer. Let's try 17 plus what number equals 0. Sorry for my funky 0. Anyway, what's our answer, class? Hopefully you said negative 17. Yeah? Are you getting it? Okay, let's try with a negative number. Okay. How about negative 28 plus what number equals 0? So I'm in the hole 28 bucks. What do I need to do to just get to 0? Hopefully you said a positive 28. Okay? So when we have a minus 28 or a negative 28, we're going to add 28 to get to our 0. This is important to really understand as we add this equal sign, because you're going to be having to move things from one side of an equal sign to another. Okay, so this equal sign. In order for things to say equal, they have to be the same on each side. Remember? So if a 5 is going to be on this side, there has to be a 5 on this side too, right? If I make this now 2 plus 5, on the other side, I have to also add 2, yeah? To keep it equal. Remember, balanced. Remember when I talked about like teeter-totter? You want to keep things balanced and even so that nobody is unbalanced, right? And if I then take this 7 plus 7, and then let's say, oh, I don't know, add 1 plus 1 on both sides, right? That keeps it equal and balanced, and now we're at 8. If I then took that 8 and divided it by 4 on both sides, then I would get 2 equals 2, right? So that shows balance, right? Good. So far so good? I hope so. Okay, so let's try it with this. M, we use the monkey version again, right? M minus 16, this time equals 8. So we got to ask ourselves, what number minus 16 equals 8? Well, remember what I just taught you about zeros? So if we just look at this minus 16, what do I need to add to it to get it to 0? Well, I need to plus 16 to it to get it to 0, right? Because our goal is to get our letter all by itself and the number on the other side by itself. So if we add 16 to a negative 16, we'll end up with 0 on this left-hand side. But remember what I just said. Anything I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side, right? So, what is my final answer going to be? Well, now M is going to be all by itself on this side. And then on the right-hand side, we just need to do 16 plus 8. And then, the coolest thing about algebra is that you can always plug in what you found for M and see if that really will work. So we go back to our original problem this guy, and this time I'm going to write it as that m as a 24, because that's what we said we found. Well, does 24 minus the 16 equal 8? If you can say yes, then you did your problem right. So you'll be able to check all your answers on the homework by plugging in the answer to see if you got it right. Okay, so to recap, our main goals are your goal is to get the variable, which is just our letter, alone on one side of the equal sign, and the constant or number on the other. That's your goal every time, is to get that letter all by itself. You want to get it so that it says x equals something or y equals something. But sometimes the number shows up on the other side equals x. Don't be afraid of that. Remember, your goal is just to have the letter on one side, the number on the other. So if your letter ends up on the other side, don't let it stress you out. It's not a big deal. When you then go to write your final answer, you can write it x equals if you want. So let me show you an example of what I mean. So if I had a negative 19 equals y minus 1. Okay, now all of a sudden the letter's on the other side. It might scare you a little bit. Don't let it. So you just need to look at this and say to yourself, my letter has to be on one side. My numbers have to be on the other. And the number that I see over here is a minus 1. I want to get rid of that on that side. So in order to make it equal to 0, negative 1 plus what equals 0? Plus 1. We use the opposite. And anything I do to one side, I must do to the other. So now my y is all alone because a negative 1 plus a positive 1 cancels it out. So now y is all by itself. And now we have a negative 19. I'm in the hole 19 bucks. Somebody gave me $1. Where am I at now? I bet some of you wanted to say 20 at first. No, it's negative 18. Yay! And like I said, in your final answer on your homework, if you want to flip it around to y equals negative 18, that's fine. Just don't change anything except switch positions. Okay? Alright, let's try another one. Now, some of you at this point might say, we've already done this. But remember, the last time we did this, there were no negative numbers. So here we are, we're tackling this that we've already done, but now we're just adding negative numbers to it. Okay, so let's try this one. Negative 5 equals x plus 7. Okay, so again, the goal, what's the goal? The goal is to get our letter on one side and our number on the other, right? So here I have a plus 7 on the right hand side, and I want to equal it out to 0 so that x is by itself. So I need to minus 7 on both sides. So now the x is by itself. But what does this say over here? So this is where it looks different than the last time we were doing these. What does this say? This says negative 5 minus 7. Okay? Negative 5 minus 7. Let's do the math over here. Negative 5 minus 7. Now, how many of you wanted to make that a 2? It's alright, you can tell me. It's not 2. What do? Remember? Think of these two guys, as if we're adding them together. Because remember, if we add a positive 7 and a negative 7, we get 0. So if we add a -5, and a -7, what do we get? Do you see it now? If you don't, let's go back to our old handy-dandy trick of take the minus sign, change it to plus, and then change this positive to a negative. Now you see it as -5 plus -7. Ah ha ha! That's what I just said up here. -5 plus -7. Are you catching on? So even though I said it was a -7, remember, plus a negative is the exact same thing. At any rate, what's our final answer? It is -12. And then if you want to rewrite that as x equals -12 so that it looks prettier, feel free. But that's our answer. So what does that mean? It means that that x right there is really a -12. And so you can ask yourself, is -12 plus 7 equal to -5? Yeah, it is. Okay, are we ready for something a little harder? Here we go. So, now we're going to bring in those combining like terms into the problems. I know, you're really excited about it. You're saying, Nina, thank God I was getting bored with how easy the last stuff was. I hope you can hear my sarcasm. Anyway, okay. So here we go. Give this one a whirl. 4x minus 3x minus 3 equals 8. Okay, so before we move anything from one side of the equal sign or the other, we want to combine like terms, just like we did on Wednesday. We want to say 4 xylophones minus 3 xylophones equals 1 xylophone, or just a xylophone by itself. Minus 3 equals 8. Aha! And now it doesn't look so scary anymore. So, I have a minus 3 here that I want to equal out to 0 so that x is by itself. So minus 3 plus 3, and then we have to do it to both sides. We'll get my x all by itself, and then 8 plus 3 is 11. Okay. So what I'm saying here is that x that we didn't know what it was, those xylophones, what I have figured out is that they were worth $11 each. So Mike, remember when you were asking me about variables and why the variable doesn't change? Here's another example. I can plug in this for my x, the 11, and think money, and I can say 4 xylophones at $11 minus 3 xylophones at $11, because we would times those guys together, minus 3, and you will see that you get 8. In fact, let me show you that. Okay, we did the math. We had found that x equals 11. So I've cleared up the screen a little bit so that I can show you putting this in and showing you that it really does equal to 8. And that's exactly what we found. We've solved for x. Okay, so let me show you. So we have 4, and we're going to times it, right? Because a number next to a letter means multiply. So 4 times our 11, right? Minus 3 times our 11 minus 3 equals 8. So now we got to follow PEMDAS, right? We got to follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS says we got to do our multiplication first. So we got to do this guy, and then we got to do this guy before we do our subtraction, right? So 4 times 11 is 44 minus 3 times 11 is 33 minus 3 equals 8. Okay? Now we just need to subtract. Well, what is 44 minus 33. That's 11 minus 3 equals 8. And what's 11 minus 3? 8. So we just checked our work. We plugged in our 11 back into our problem for x, and we solved it. And sure enough, we got 8 equals 8. So we know we did it right. Yay! So again, this x represents xylophones in our case, and they turned out to be 11 bucks each. If you forgot how we got to the 11 again, just rewind this and watch it again. Okay, hey, pug break. These are my babies. Aren't they cute? This one has a particularly long tongue, doesn't he? Wahaha. Anyway. Alright, so pug break over. Here we go. Alright, here we go. So, let's try another one. 5y minus 4y plus 1 equals negative 5. Okay, so we need to solve for y. And step 1, remember, is we got to combine like terms. So we need to focus right now on this right here. 5 yo-yos minus 4 yo-yos equals 1 yo-yo, or just y, right? Now we can go to the next step, which is to get this plus 1 out of here. So plus 1 to equal to 0 is minus 1. We have to minus 1 from both sides. And I'm saying the word minus ones, but isn't it true that if we add these two together, you also equal 0? So if we add these two together, what do we get? Hopefully you made it there. Y equals negative 6. But Nina, that's not what it says. It says negative 5 minus 1, right? Negative 5 minus 1. But remember what I said. A negative 5, subtract, change it to addition, change to a negative 1. Ta-da-da, there it is, negative 6. And again, we could do like we did on the last problem and substitute that y for our 6, not just a 6, a negative 6. And then if you do your PEMDAS right, you should see it come out to a negative 5. Okay, let's get a little even more trickier. So, how about this one? Negative 23 plus 8 plus x equals negative 2 plus 13. So now we have stuff to do on both sides of the equation. Okay. So this time there aren't x's to combine, we have numbers to combine. So now we need to combine these guys and we need to combine these guys. So negative 23, I'm in the hole 23 bucks. Somebody gives me $8. Where am I at now? Negative 15. And now let's do the other side. I'm in the hole $2. Somebody gave me $13. So now where am I at? In the positive 11. So far so good. So all we did is combine these two numbers on each side. So now that I have just one number and one letter on one side and a number on the other. So the last step again is to move that negative 15 away from the x. So to get negative 15 equal to 0, what do we need to do? Plus 15, and we have to do it to both sides. So now x is by itself, and now we just have 11 plus 15, which is 26. There you have it. So far, so good? Okay, let's try a couple more. Give this one a whirl. -1 plus 11 plus x equals -5 plus 9. Alright, again we just have the 1x, so we don't have to mess with him, but we do need to combine our like terms, our constants here, right? So we got to add these guys together. Okay, -1, I'm in the hole $1. Somebody gives me $11. I'm now at 10. Here, I'm in the hole $5. Somebody gives me 9. I'm at 4. Now I have this pesky 10 next to the x, so we need to equal it out to 0. So we're going to -10 on both sides. Now I say -10, but remember what I said? It's like we add these two together. So if you add these two together, what do you get? 4 plus a -10. Did you see it? I'll give you a second to figure it out. Pause the video before I give away the answer. Okay. Did you get it? I hope so. X equals -6. Alright, so now let's bring in some parentheses. So we'll expand our PEMDAS here a little bit. 3 times 7 minus 11 equals y minus 5. Okay, don't let this one scare you. All we need to do is first pay attention to parentheses, right? That's what PEMDAS says. Okay. So we're not going to distribute here because we have both numbers on the inside here. So we're just going to combine 7 minus 11. So think of that as 7 plus a -11. You should get -2 if you need to do the math on the side. 7 plus a -11, because we're going to change the sign so that you can see it. Okay. So then we've combined what's in the parentheses. Now we need to follow PEMDAS. And there's nothing I can do on the right hand side because it's a number and a letter, right? We just learned that. When was that? Tuesday? Monday? I can't remember now. Anyway, don't combine letters with numbers. We learned that on Wednesday. Okay. Any rate, here we go. We do have, though, a 3 times a -2, right? And that equals -6. Don't forget your negative. I bet you some of you did. Okay, -6. Now, the number is all by itself on the left, but I do have this -5 that I need to get rid of on the right. So I'm going to +5 on both sides. And pause the video, solve it, and then come back. For each one of these, you should be pausing the video, trying it, and then re-going once you've done it to check if you did the next step right. Your final answer should be -1. And like I mentioned before, you can check your answer there, or you can also rewrite it as y equals -1 if you need to. Either way. Alright, so that concludes my lesson. This was based on what I taught you on Thursday. So if you missed class, I hope this helps you. Download your homework on Canvas and get busy on this over the weekend. Next week, you're going to have a sub. Her name is Debbie. She's very, very nice. She will work diligently with you. And I promise to make more of these videos so that if you're not happy with the way Debbie taught, or you just need extra help or guidance, you can watch these videos, and you can watch the way I teach it, because I know you're used to my style. But hopefully, I'm sure Debbie's awesome. She'll do a great job with you too. So be kind to her, and I'll be seeing you guys next week, Thursday. So you're going to have her for 3 days. Okay, thanks guys. Have a fun, safe weekend, and I'll see you soon.